Hi, welcome back to the Patch Pod. Today's episode 15. Wow, yeah. This is Eugene Kim, as always, with Pauline Wong and John Bognut. Hey, guys.
Hi.
Hi. If you
Did you guys
keep
have a good
waving,
week?
shout out to you because you're watching.
Yeah,
Good week? Busy week?
good week. Well, busy week, but it's
Yeah.
okay.
Did you guys,
Oh.
after doing the imposter syndrome session, do you guys feel any better doing your own sessions? And I don't know, if you had, did you guys have any photography session this week?
It got postponed, I
didn't.
think, because of weather. But
Yeah, gotcha. Okay.
yeah.
Yeah. I mean, we'll definitely be able to utilize ourselves as well. Definitely learn a few tricks. So yeah, if you haven't listened to the imposter syndrome one, definitely go and check that out. That's a little bit, I guess every episode that we do is slightly different from one another. But definitely that was a little bit more in depth, a little bit mellow side. So that was good. And today we thought we talk about the importance of engagement session. I would say importance of engagement session, but it's really the engagement session, like,
In general.
yeah, what it is, and like who should do it, and why should they do it, and all that sort of stuff, other than actually getting engaged. So, do you guys title engagement session differently to other, like, proposal session? I know, Pauline, you're really big into.
Yeah.
Or do you title it differently when you do like other pre-wedding session when it's not directly an engagement session, or do you just call everything engagement session?
I think I've only had engagement sessions, like pre-wedding type things. So I always just call it engagement session. Obviously, I do have proposal, but those are actually separate. I mean, I guess technically once they propose and she says yes, normally then
Right.
there is a mini engagement shoot afterwards, but I've had one couple where she was so shocked that she was not prepared to take any photos. So then we did a separate engagement session after on a separate day. So she was wearing whatever she wanted to wear. And yeah, so that just happened once. So
yeah, that would actually be awkward. You're doing proposal, but like they literally just came out from their apartment, maybe in, I don't know, in the jogger pants, or
no, that's never happened. Somehow they always are, talked into wearing something a little bit nice. Usually it's tied to towards going to dinner, and that's when they do dress up a little bit better than unless they go to dinner in sweats, but I've never had that.
Yeah, so I think I definitely call everything just an engagement session. I think it's just all the session that happens before the wedding just is an engagement session. I've never actually done a proposal session, but all the engagement session, all the sort of like pre-wedding session, all the general sort of sessions that we do before the wedding, I just tie everything into engagement session.
I wonder if it's different between cultures though, because I think maybe in Chinese culture they don't really call it engagement. It would be more pre-wedding, or maybe I don't know.
I think in Europe it's more pre-wedding session as well. Yeah.
Or
Yeah, I think it is a Western thing. Whole engagement, getting engaged, maybe. I don't know.
prenuptial, is that another term?
Yeah.
Okay.
So, John, you just did an engagement session. What was it, yesterday or 2 days ago?
I did it Saturday.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. And that was, they already had a wedding day planned, and you just said they don't have a wedding day yet?
No, they don't have plans yet. They said probably next year, May.
Okay.
That's the target, but it's not. Nothing's booked or whatever. Nothing's planned.
So, did they hire you with intent of sort of like hiring you for the wedding, or they just wanted to do an engagement session?
They just wanted to do an engagement session.
Okay.
And she's been a friend of mine since 2015. I used to work with her in a nursing unit. And when I saw her that she got engaged, that's when we started talking about the engagement session. But I did ask her if she's got plans for a wedding yet, and then she said, "Yeah, no, nothing planned yet because it's so new, and yeah, they don't know any details yet."
Do you guys get most of the engagement session through engagement sessions alone, or do you guys get engagement session through weddings?
Well, for me, from my experience, it's mostly engagement sessions alone. But on my packages, I do include it for free if they want to book me for as a wedding photographer. Then I would include the wedding. The engagement session for free.
Okay. Pauline, how about you?
I'm trying to think. I feel like most of my engagements, especially my own ones, they are tied to a wedding because that is something that I recommend. And I think in the past I did have it as like a complimentary engagement session, so it is part of the package. The only one that is kind of separate most often is the proposal for me, just because most of them aren't out of towners and they're not local, and so that's kind of like the one-off session. Typically, they go hand in hand with the wedding, I would say.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. No, I feel like I'm similar. Like, so for example, like a lot of the Korean couples, if I do an engagement session, they're actually getting married in Korea. And oftentimes there's no really need for me to go all the way over to Korea to photograph their weddings. So it's just engagement session alone. But I think oftentimes most of the couples that live in the US, they're oftentimes a wedding client who book me for an engagement session as well. So I think I do both. But yeah. So I feel, I'm kind of similar in that sense. I don't do it complimentary, but I offer 50% discount in the wedding package.
Yeah.
If they book me for a wedding, then they get a 50% discount on engagement session, wherever the location is and whatever the price that was supposed to be, and then just give 50% discount. So obviously, I think we all three of us feel the importance of engagement sessions, whether for us or for. Let's talk about the client side of things first. Why do you guys think it's more important? Why do you think the engagement session is important, or why do you include it in your package?
So for me, I like to include it from my packages because I wanna get to know the couple even more, and also I want the couple to get an idea of how I work, how I do my posing, how I communicate with them. So basically, I treat it as like a practice run for their wedding day. So that's the main reason why. And also just so that they have a feel for how I work and for them to get comfortable with me. Yeah. How about you guys?
Yeah, so similar, I would say, to add on to that, it's just for the clients to be more comfortable in front of the camera. Most of them have never been in front of a camera before, especially like a professional one, and have never taken photos before. And so to add on to what John's already said, trying to get them more comfortable in front of the camera and being more, used to that, because on their wedding day, that's basically what's going to be in their face. So I think it's important to kind of, get more comfortable in that sense. I think John covered a lot there.
Yeah, I think probably the only thing that I want to add is probably I think even all the photographers, even if you meet them in person, I think that doesn't always mean that you work well with that person, even if you like that person. The way of operating in a shoot could be quite different to their sort of like demeanor during, conversation or anything like that. So I think just having a real sort of like experience, I think it is what you guys discussed, but it's just guys kind of like expand into sort of like how this photographer really work with that couple. And, even if you feel like that you're going to work well, but sometimes when you're shooting and you may not feel that way, and the person who's going to be spending 8 hours, 10 hours, even 12 hours on a wedding day, could be quite different to, quite difficult to have someone if you don't work well with that photographer. So yeah,
and
I think that's probably
and also for clients to see their gallery back, maybe for the first time, they may notice something that, maybe I don't want to be on this side during the wedding day. So it's kind of like what John said, like a trial for them to notice, maybe my hair looks better on this side. So then that's kind of to take note for the actual wedding day, or to give you, I guess, kind of not feedback in terms of, the gallery, but just themselves, like how or when they're the most comfortable. So
Yeah.
that could
Another
be
reason that I do suggest is because I sell like a tangible products. So for example, like I create guest book for their wedding day. If they do far advance, then they can do save the date cards
yes.
or even the wedding invitations. Any photos to print for the big print to show on the wedding day, or just the photo tables, all that kind of stuff can be all utilized. So more to show, just make the wedding planning a little bit easier too.
Just have decor
So, yeah.
in general, just more decor.
Yeah. And the fact that it will match with the wedding day photos is kind of nice. How about for the photographer side? So like, what do we benefit from the engagement session?
So for me in particular, since I'm a newer photographer, it's just good for my overall portfolio. And then for my other sessions, like one in particular, she said she wants to include it during. So I guess some receptions they have like a slideshow, and they like to show their photos during the engagement session. So for me, that's like free marketing for me.
Yeah.
Yeah, because they'll show my photos. And how about you guys?
I think it is similar to even the clients. It's just for the photographer to be more comfortable with the clients, right? Like for the most part, this is the first time you're meeting them. And so it's really getting to know their personalities and then perhaps give you more ideas for the wedding day, hear more about their story in person. Because I feel like most often through an email or a phone call, you're not going to get the full story. You're not going to, get everything. So I think having that 1 hour or however long session with them, you can learn a lot about them. So, yeah.
I think for me, the biggest part of the engagement session is the creative part, because on the wedding day is very time restricted, and oftentimes is very environment restricted in terms of if the weather is not that great that day, or whatever that might be. Creative can be anything, but I think it's sort of my urge to have some kind of a signature shot for the couple. On the engagement session day, I can definitely take my time a little bit and think of a way to kind of capture that, and once we kind of get over that oftentimes like transpire into creating something on the wedding day as well, because they will be able to trust me more with what I've tried to do. And when I ask them to do, like, even if it's 5 minutes available, then, like they will be more willing to do it. So I think oftentimes that sort of I definitely have more creative thought process and creative shots on the engagement session day rather than the wedding day.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think
for the most part, the time is unlimited. There's less, limitations and constraints. It's true. If this location may not be working, there's probably time to kind of move to another location without all the wedding party or more guests. So, good point.
I mean, I don't, like doing an engagement session, overnight engagement session, something like that. That would never happen on a wedding day.
Yeah.
Unless it's an elopement.
Yeah, I noticed engagement sessions have been really fun for me. Like what you're saying, Eugene, it's a chance for you to be creative. It's very true.
And
it's a time that you can go out and really try.
Yeah.
And also knowing that it's a short amount of time and you only have so many images to call and edit, it's more exciting than thinking, I have to edit a whole 10-hour day full of images.
Yeah.
And for me personally, on a wedding day, my favorite part is the couple sessions. So I think that's why I personally enjoy the engagement session the most, just because. Yeah.
I definitely struggle a lot with the group photos and group photos in particular. Like if I get probably like if there's like 15 people, then probably get 14 people perfect. One person like doing something else. And I have to do like swap and all that kind of stuff. So and we don't have to worry about those things on the engagement session. So, and that's one of the reasons that I think I've been doing a lot more engagement session and honeymoon sessions and whatnot. than the weddings itself. Of course, the engagement session happen more often than the wedding itself, but I think that's definitely something that we enjoy doing.
So if you are shooting their engagement session, also shooting their wedding, how long of a time period between those two would you recommend, or do you normally would recommend?
So it will depend on when they reach out to me. So as I usually recommend as soon as they book me. So like I have a couple who just booked me for next May. So 2024 May, not 2023 May. So 2024 May, but they just booked me and I told them like we have to do the engagement session like right now if we want to use anything for the wedding day. So I have their engagement session set for April. And then they're planning to do the entire sort of like the guest book, save the date, and all that sort of stuff. And with a client like that, sometimes like I will go. I say I give 50% discount, but it's usually like 3-hour session or 4-hour sessions, and oftentimes it goes longer. Like I would ask them, is it okay for me to go a little bit longer? Like can we capture this at this time a little bit more, or can we go to different location? And oftentimes, because they're spending more time with me, and they're getting more pictures taken, and oftentimes they're willing to. And that's when I think I feel comfortable with them and really get to create some of the things that take a little bit longer to create.
What has been the shortest time period for you?
For engagement session?
Yeah, between engagement session and the wedding.
Probably 2 days.
2 days. Okay, you win.
Wow.
That was for the purpose of just having an engagement session photos rather than using anything for. But then again, they did use the photos on their wedding day because I do deliver the sneak peeks within the day, and so they used the photos for the slideshows during the reception. So, yeah,
Good.
If it was 2 days, I'd probably work my butt off to get them the gallery before the wedding.
Yeah.
But the shortest for me is 2 weeks. So you win with 2 days. That's crazy. And I guess going back, I think that's what you thought my question was. How long are usually your engagement sessions?
I usually recommend 2 to 3 hours. But it will, I think 2 hours is minimum. 2 hours is a minimum for just having one outfit. If they want to do 2 outfits, then 3 hours minimum. Yeah. One of the reasons that I feel that my sessions are a little bit longer than some other people's sessions, I've seen people on Facebook page or anything, people do like 30-minute sessions or 1 hour session. I personally cannot do that just because it would take me about an hour to get to know them. So it's like when I have 2-hour sessions, it's not 2 hours of shooting every single seconds. It's a 2-hour session, but like I'll probably spend like first 15 minutes walking to a spot and just chatting with them and setting things up, and I'll probably spend about 5 minutes looking around and looking at the lights and. So sometimes I know some of the clients can get really frustrated with me just because my work process is a little bit slower. But then again, I think that's what brings the value in terms of having all the session and getting the real, and that time they get sort of comfortable as well. So it brings out a little bit more natural of them as well.
Yeah. And I just want to tell you this because I've been with you doing those engagement sessions with you.
Oh no.
It really opened my eyes into what I should be doing for my engagement sessions. And I just love like how I could just, because I did this with the latest one that I just did. I love how you can just take your time, just go with the flow and get to know the couple. I love those 3-hour sessions now. And I think moving forward, I think I will only do 2 hours minimum. I will not offer an hour session anymore.
Yeah, I think it comes down to sort of like the demeanor on that day as well. So like if you have 2 hours, like if you, everyone could be a little bit different. Like if I have an hour, I will feel a little bit rushed, and
Yeah.
my tonal voice will be a little bit higher, and then my speech will be a little bit faster. then they will get a little bit rushed,
Yeah.
and they won't be able to get the shots, the kind of things that they want. But if I calm down a little bit, just talking a little bit more mellow tone and slow down a little bit, look around, you know, just try to have a good laugh. I think that kind of calms them down a little bit, and that kind of brings the overall posing in every session to be go a little bit smoother. But I think, it works completely different to photographer. Pauline, how about you? What sort of session, like how long is your session?
On average, an hour, usually an hour and a half. I've shot with my friends, which ended up to be 2 to 3. And to be honest, those are really long. And as you guys know, last year I shot a whole wedding in 1 hour. So I think an engagement in an hour is no problem. You know, but I do agree. I think the end of the session, those images are probably the best ones. So I do agree that it does take maybe a little bit longer for especially some couples to kind of get into the groove and feel more comfortable where those photos would do look the best. So I totally get where you're coming from but that's totally fine. Like some couples do tend to take a little bit longer and that's normal, I feel.
And oftentimes couples come out on the day without anything else scheduled for that day. You know, they have time open. So whether you have like 2-hour session or a 3-hour session, oftentimes they're okay. Just having more time in their outfits and in their surroundings, and just having more fun with it. I think it works a little bit easier.
And I think for me also why it's shorter is because most often it's cold. So I feel bad. And even me, I get really cold being outside for so long that an hour is enough.
Right.
Yeah, that's why I'm trying not to do any sessions in Vegas during summertime. Staying really hot. Yeah. Do you guys try to work with any other vendors for the engagement session?
Well, for me, I personally don't reach out to specific vendors. Most often, I guess this could be a benefit to clients going back, is their engagement session could be like a trial run for their makeup and hair. So that's usually when that happens. And so in that sense, yes, technically I'm working with other vendors because the couple's already working with them. So usually just hair and makeup, typically.
Engagement session, sometimes some couples like to bring a bouquet. If they already have a floral designer for the wedding, and if the wedding is not too far away, oftentimes they do, then I would ask you use the same floral designer for a bouquet that will match with the colors of the outfit on that day and all that sort of stuff. And oftentimes I think, it is a good trial phase for them because, you know, depending on the attire, depending on the weather, the hair and makeup could change and the floral design could change and even the color tone could change a little bit. So I think, just trying to, and having more opportunity to work with the vendor is kind of nice for you to get yourself out in terms of the advertising and the just getting the photos out. Yeah. So it's just another sort of opportunity to have. If you were to do an engagement session by yourself, like do you price by per hour or do you price by package?
Package.
Because it's included for my package.
But if you were to do it separately?
I would do it per hour.
Okay.
Yeah.
So what happens if you do like by hourly, like do they often ask you like, is it 1 hour enough or do you usually recommend like how long or like what's the process?
Well, now knowing what I know, I would tell them, like, 2 hours is probably better, especially if they want those, like what I'm going for is like adventure style epic landscape. You know, I'm going to take them to like locations and we're going to go from place to place. Then, it really depends on what the clients want. If they want different locations, different landscapes, then that's going to be fully customized.
Yeah. So engagement session and sort of like what I do a lot is the honeymoon session. Obviously honeymoon sessions happen after the wedding, but oftentimes Korean couples that comes over to US for their honeymoon, Oftentimes they've done an engagement session in a studio. That's just sort of like the custom, sort of like in Korea. And studio sessions. If they do studio sessions of 4 hours, that's a really long studio session. Like, so if I try to tell them like you should do for about 3 to 4 hours, and they're like, that's a really long session. But I'm always telling them like, honestly, like if you've done a studio session for 4 hours, this will feel like nothing. Like this, you will have a lot of fun, and you just
Exactly.
go out and just enjoy, and
Yeah.
it won't feel like the 4 hours in a studio. It's a comparison that I always try to kind of give to all my clients. But I think, engagement session and honeymoon session all have a very similar characteristics. So that's how I oftentimes explain. But yeah, I think, do you have like a limited number of like outfits that you guys kind of go through, or whatever the clients want, or like how does that work?
To me, whatever the client wants, as long as we already have a set hour or hours.
Okay.
Yeah. And yeah.
Typically one, I feel like sometimes, especially when it's cold out, they do have jackets. And so that kind of changes up the outfit, taking the jacket off and stuff. But typically for me, the clients that I attract are, again, just 1 hour and one outfit.
Yeah, I don't know. For some reason, all my clients have 2 outfits.
It's just the clients that you attract, which is fine.
But it's like oftentimes it's one outfit in more casual, and then one outfit in not like super wedding attire, but still has that wedding vibe.
Yeah.
That could be a shorter dress, but yeah, usually we do in two different outfits.
So if a client asks you for your suggestion on outfits, do you guys have any, or again, or is it up to them?
I usually ask them like, do you have a few outfits that you kind of like contemplating on, or something like that, or if they just plainly ask me like, what color tone should I be going for, and then I usually say, because like everyone's their body structure is different, the environment and surroundings are different, so I always try to get more out of them. Following their Instagram helps as well, because you kind of know like what sort of like outfit they're into. Usually there's one thing about oftentimes with the Korean couples coming to the US, because I don't know if it's just in Korea, but as in Asian culture in general, I feel like it's a little bit more, how do you say those? A lot of especially the ladies don't like to wear something very revealing, although it's gotten a lot better in the recent history, but it's not as much as like in the US. So sometimes like when they come over here, they want to try something that's a little bit, they haven't tried. That's something that they've been wanting to try in Korea, but they haven't been able to. So sometimes I always say it's a good thing to try, but at the same time, it doesn't always go as planned. So always have a backup dress or backup outfit. But yeah, I think for me, it's oftentimes about the color tones. I always try to ask the couples to have similar color tones in a sense that unless you go black and white, which is the usual sort of like a wedding attire outfit for the black suit and white dress, try to match them in a lighter tone or the darker tone, so that if I put them in a similar sort of like light pattern or something like that, it's much easier for me to add it, and so much easier for me to sort of like pose them. But yeah, I think that's probably the only thing. Probably I would ask them to avoid some of the sort of like a natural tone, like if they're going out to the natural environment, because they'll just blend in with the background. I'll just have to use a lot of flash and all that kind of stuff. So if we're going to anywhere that's red, try to avoid in that tone. If we're going, all that kind of stuff. So yeah, I think I talked to more about the color tone than anything else. Some ladies do ask me about the shape of their dress and everything, but that's too much for me to know.
Fair enough.
Definitely got better, but yeah.
How about you, Pauline? How do you do it?
I always give the question back to them. Like, it kind of goes back to my, I guess, mission and motto is I just want them to be comfortable. Even in choosing the location, I never really try to push for anything specific. I would recommend based on obviously the season, the time that we chose, but I never, it's at the end of the day, it's up to them. I will do my best based on what they choose, but I want them to be most comfortable. Like say they are city people, I'm not going to push going on a hike, right? Or if they do like nature a lot, I'm not going to suggest like, a black tie in the city type thing. So I think it's really learning about them. I personally don't follow them on Instagram. That could be an interesting hot take to talk about. But anyways, I think I just ask kind of what they're the most comfortable wearing. Because some people, they like being casual. And so I would always push for that. If you're usually dressing casually, then I'd recommend that be their engagement session. Because then that's when they could be the most comfortable and have the most fun. And then we can play around with more fun poses where if they were wearing, a suit or something, they're not going to be able to move around as freely and as comfortably. So, yeah.
So to me, it's the same thing. I ask them like what they're comfortable with. And then if they really don't have an idea, I have Pinterest. So I send them links of like just an idea of like what the color palette would be appropriate to the landscape that we're going to.
Yeah.
And then one thing in particular is I tell them please no large prints.
I was going to say that.
That's the one thing that I tell them, like no large prints. But aside from that, just whatever you're comfortable with, and then you can follow you can look at color palettes for color coordination. And then I tried something different too. I instead of doing a mood board, I use Midjourney. I don't know if you guys are familiar with AI, Midjourney AI.
No.
So you can basically, if for example you're going to sand dunes, you can type a prompt saying a couple in a sand dune wearing white dress with lantern, and it will generate an AI generated art.
Oh my gosh.
And
Is it like a drawing or actual like a photo like?
it's photo like a painting or it's an image. I can show you a sample later, but it's quite interesting. So I tried that, and yeah.
That'll be pretty cool.
That's interesting.
Yeah. And I used that to funny enough, I used that to look for models or for couples that wanted to do a session similar to my vision.
Yeah.
And I used that image, and actually a bunch of people reached out to me to do sessions.
That's cool.
Yeah, but that's another idea. If you have a vision in mind, but you don't have you don't have a photo for it, you can use AI to generate an image for you instead of having a mood board. Yeah.
I kind of I guess this is a question that I want to ask in the sense that because I sort of had a similar approach to my clients, like asking where something comfortable and where something not so out of ordinary that they will feel awkward or weird. But do you oftentimes feel clients know exactly what they want?
Yeah,
or how much photographers actually have to intervene in terms of guiding them to find what they want?
It's hard because they have their own style. So at the end of the day, you can only advise. They'll still do whatever they want. You can tell them
if they have. I prefer if they have something in mind versus I have no idea. Just in the city, like in Vancouver, then I'm like, oh, I don't know what you're interested in. We could do anything. So I do prefer if they have some sort of idea, whether that's, they want to be in the city or in nature.
Oh, so you're saying you want the initial idea coming out from them, not you?
Yeah, for the most part, I feel like they have some idea what vibe they want, at least the vibe, right? I think most couples, kind of what you said, they have some sort of idea, but in terms of specific locations, maybe they would want some recommendations, right? Because we technically are, more knowledgeable and maybe have shot in those locations before. So
Okay.
Yeah.
So, quick question: how do you do that? Like, what do you ask that using a questionnaire, or do you do that through a conversation? How do you do that?
So I
For
call
me,
them.
you call them. Okay. No,
So
go
for
ahead.
me, I do call them and then kind of just ask, what kind of look are you going for? Like, what kind of is there a particular landscape you want? You want because here in Vegas you have the Red Rock, Valley of Fire. Do you want more trees? Do you want deserty vibes? Like, like vaguely asking like that, what they have in mind. And if they don't have anything in particular, then that's when I start doing suggestions basing on where I already photographed, or for example, I'm sick of a certain location that I wouldn't personally recommend that. Yeah, yeah. That's how I would go about. I would call them.
Hmm. How about
How
you,
about you?
Pauline?
For engagement sessions, typically it's over email, whereas proposals, I do video calls. And I find even both, they kind of vary. There are some people that come up with the idea already. And so I just, okay, let's go. They already have everything planned and have everything they have in mind ready to go. Whereas there are some couples that do need more guidance. Maybe they just don't know, or they have some idea, like maybe some options that they were thinking. And then they would kind of then bounce it back off to me. And then I would then help them make the final decision. But there are definitely locations that I've shot at a lot, and I would prefer not to shoot there. But then at the same time, if the couples really want it, I'm not going to force them to change it to somewhere else. Yeah.
I think for me, like I do that through a questionnaire, and usually ask them like what sort of like attire they're sort of like planning, and if they don't have that, and usually some of the questions that I ask is, what are some of the most recent movies you guys watched together that was good, and what are some of the holiday destinations that you guys went to, and what you guys did, and what do you guys like to do? So it's just sort of like a general in terms of like what's sort of like embedded in there, sort of like deeper, sort of like things that they would like to do. So usually, and with questionnaire, they have plenty of time to kind of think about it.
Yeah.
And then recently, I've been getting some positive feedback. Earlier, like sort of like 3-4 years ago, a lot of clients said like these questionnaires are like too long and all that.
Yeah.
And, like nowadays, they're saying like they really enjoy it. So it's been in that sense, I think it's been good.
Maybe I should try that again, because I feel like in my experience, maybe I send the questionnaire too early, where they don't know all the answers yet. And so that doesn't really help anybody. So maybe I should try it for engagement. I've never done it.
Okay. Honestly, I actually thought this episode was going to be fairly short. But it just felt like it just kept dragging on and on. Like we just kept talking about more questions to ask here and there, and just got a little bit longer than I expected. But no, I think that was really good. I think engagement session is definitely on a rise right now. A lot of people, whether they're getting married in the second half of this year or whether they're getting married next year, a lot of people are reaching us right now for the engagement sessions. Definitely that time of the year as a lot of places are getting a little bit warmer. So yeah, hopefully this episode has helped you, whether you're a photographer, whether you're a client, in looking for an engagement session. Now you know what to kind of look for. And yeah. I think there's one thing that I did like to add. I think for the clients, if you have any doubt, like for example, like in a city that you guys are getting married, if you cannot quite make up your mind in terms of which photographer you want to hire for a wedding, then you can do a bunch of like an engagement session with different photographer and see who fits the best. I mean, it kind of goes hand in hand with trial and all that kind of stuff. But there are couples who do try this, and actually there was one occasion that this one couple that I was the third engagement session for two years.
Wow.
So yeah, it's definitely a way to do it. Having more photos for the wedding day. It's and of course, like depending on their tone of their skin tone, the different kind of like editing process will look differently as well. So a lot of couples do that as well. So that's a good way to kind of kind of get to know some of the local photographers in your area. Cool. I think that could be a good place for us to wrap. Next week, we're coming with another kind of interesting topic. So kind of explain to everyone my little background is I was a marketing major, but I felt my communication skill was one of the worst skill thing to have. So upon graduation, I took on a sales job, and I did door-to-door sales for the 2 years after the graduating from college, literally knocking on the door-to-door, selling internet TV and phones in the Bay Area. And and it's probably one of the best decisions that I've ever made. And then in that 2 years, I've learned a lot about sales. And surprisingly, I was number one sales in the country for 2 months in a row.
Wow, that's really impressive.
So I think I think oftentimes when I say sales, I think it scares a lot of people, but I kind of want to sort of dive deep into sort of like what sales process is and how you can choose to do sales. So next week, I thought it would be kind of nice to talk about sort of like sales 101. What are some of the techniques? Even if you don't use those techniques, just being aware of like why some of the sales guys use those techniques in those areas will probably help you understand the communication part a lot easier. And without you even realizing you're doing sales, that hopefully you'll be able to convince more clients to get on board with you and have fun with you. So yeah, next week we're preparing something a little bit different about the sales. So please join us. But other than that, hope you guys have a great week. And as always, you can listen to us on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Castbox, not Overcast. I don't know where that came from. Spotify. And then you can watch us on Spotify and YouTube. All right, guys. All right. Have a good week. See you next week.
Bye.
Bye.